Today's lesson is on decimals and estimation. One way we can estimate is by rounding. To estimate decimal products and quotients, you can round each factor to the nearest whole number. Now we'll look at a couple of examples where we're estimating decimal products and quotients. We're going to round each factor to the nearest whole number to estimate. So for number 1, we have 11 2/10 times 5 7/10. So if we're going to round to the nearest whole number, we're going to be rounding the ones place. We're going to look at the digit that's behind the ones place, or the digits that's in the tenths place, to tell us how we're going to round. So we're going to round the 1 in the ones place. The 2 in the tenths place tells us that we round down, which means we just keep this 11. Now for 5 7/10, we're going to round the 5. The 7 in the tenths place tells us that we round that 5 up. The 5 would then round up to a 6. Remember with rounding that if the number you're looking at, so this 2, needs to be less than 5 for us to round down. If the number that's in the tenths place is 5 or greater, then you round up. So now 11 times 6 is 66. For number 2, we have 12 3/10 times 4 8/10. So for 12 3/10, we're rounding the 2, and we'll look at the 3 in the tenths place to help us round. Since that 3 is less than 5, we round down, which means this stays 12. And now for 4 8/10, the 4 is the number that we're rounding. That's the number in the ones place. The 8 in the tenths place tells us that we're going to round up because it is larger than 5. The 4 then will round up to a 5. So now we have 12 times 5, which is 60. Now for number 3, we have 26 5/10 divided by 2 5/10. We're going to round the digit in the ones place, which is the 6. The digit in the tenths place, which is the 5, tells us that we're going to round up. Since our rule is 5 or greater, you round up. So our 26 5/10 will round up to 27. And then for 2 5/10, the 2 is the digit we're rounding. The 5 behind the 2 that's in the tenths place tells us that we're going to round up. So this 2 will round up to a 3. And 27 divided by 3 equals 9. And now for number 4, we have 62 9/10 divided by 7 48/100. So for 62 9/10, we are rounding the 2, and the 9 in the tenths place tells us that we're going to round this 2 up, since that is larger than 5. So we're going to round up to 63. And 7 48/100, we are rounding the 7. The 4 in the tenths place tells us that we're going to round this down, so it will just stay 7. 4 tells us we round down because it's less than 5. And 63 divided by 7 is 9. Another way we can estimate is by using compatible numbers. When rounding, you do not always get numbers that are easy to use. In this case, use compatible numbers. So now we're going to try a few examples where we're using compatible numbers. We're going to use compatible numbers to estimate the product or quotient. Compatible numbers means that we're going to round the numbers in a way that it's easy for us to either multiply or divide. So for number 5, we have 38 79/100 times 9 8/10. So for this problem, the 9 8/10 is very close to 10. So now we need to look at 38 79/100. There's a couple of ways we could round this. Since we're multiplying by 10, we could just round this up to 39. We also could say that we would round this to 40. because we can do 40 times 10 easily, and 40 times 10 is 400. Notice that I didn't just round to the nearest whole number, I picked numbers that were easy to multiply. So for number 6, we have 48 and 97 hundredths times 3 and 91 hundredths. So if I look at the 3 and 91 hundredths, that's very close to 4. So we're going to start with 4 and see if that helps us. And now for 48 and 97 hundredths, if I would round this to the nearest whole number, I would get 49. But 49 and times 4 is not very easy. So we could go ahead and just round this up to 50, because we can go ahead and multiply 50 times 4 easily. 5 times 4 is 20, so 50 times 4 would be 200. Once again, notice that I did not just round to the nearest whole number. I rounded these in a way that would make it easy for me to multiply. For number 7, we have 17 and 34 hundredths divided by 2 and 91 hundredths. 2 and 91 hundredths is very close to 3. So now my job is to figure out what number is close to 17 and 34 hundredths, and it can also be divided by 3. So I'll first look and see if 17 works, but 17 can't be divided by 3 very easily. So now I can look and see what's close to that. 18 is close to 17 and 34 hundredths, and 18 can be divided by 3. So we'll go ahead and do 18 divided by 3 for this problem. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. And now for number 8, I have 62 and 45 hundredths divided by 11 and 72 hundredths. 11 and 72 hundredths is very close to 12. So we're going to see if that will help us. So now I need to see if there's something close to 62 and 45 hundredths that can be divided by 12. 62 is close, but it cannot be divided by 12. If I try to go up a number to 63, that also cannot be divided by 12. So now I have to think about what's close. And 60 is close to 62 and 45 hundredths. And that can also be divided by 12, because 60 divided by 12 is 5. For these 4 problems, notice that I did not always round to the nearest whole number. Sometimes I use the nearest whole number, but other times I had to either go up 1 or 2 or down 1 or 2. So when you do compatible numbers, remember that it's not just the nearest whole number. You're finding numbers that are close to the numbers you originally have, but you also want to make it easy for you to multiply or divide.